Hi there, this is Jian from Spokane Public Library and welcome back to Ask a Money Doctor. In today's episode on Social Security benefits, we return to our partners and this series of financial education to guide us through the maze of spousal benefits, and that includes divorcees and widowed persons. After this, if you have more questions regarding retirement and financial plannings, come to Spokane Public Libraries. We have a large collections on books like this.
Today's episode is going to be about benefits for spouses, divorcees, and for widows and widowers. Today we're going to talk first about the benefits for spouses. And that is going to be illustrated by this family. Some of you may remember who this is. Most should, because you're the right age, that you might have seen this TV show when you were a kid. This is the Leave It to Beaver family. And if you remember, this is Ward and June and the Beav and Wally. Now, what we know about Ward is that he earned Social Security credits while he was working, and June was staying at home. And we never really knew what he did. He just came downstairs with his briefcase and he left. My supposition is that he was working for the government. You know, if you wanted to get real interesting, you could say he was a spy for the government, because we never knew what he did. But in any case, we know that was the typical family, wasn't it, back in the day? And so that spouse, in the case of June, we're going to use her as an example. A spousal benefit means that a spouse who may have not been working, may be someone in the home. And also remember, this is not gender specific. It could be a stay-at-home dad with a working wife as well. But that non-working spouse can receive 50% of the spouse's benefit. Where this usually comes into play is if you have the traditional family in the past was a working male who would make a good living, and she was having babies and she was staying at home. Now, she may not ever be able to have as large of a Social Security benefit as her husband. So what they did was they said that a wife could receive up to 50% of her husband's benefit. I'm going to give you an example of that. Now, you can receive it at age 62, but I'm going to continue to encourage you to not do that to yourself, to wait and to stay focused on getting the largest benefit that you can. Your age 62 benefit is going to be up to 30% less than if you wait till your full retirement age, which typically is going to be 66 to 67 years old. Now, we're going to talk more about what this really means, but just remember that if you wait until your full retirement age, there isn't any benefit on a spousal benefit of waiting until 70 like there is with waiting for your own benefit at age 70. So with that said, let's look at an example. So let's say that Ward has a $2,000 a month Social Security benefit. And let's say that June worked a little bit, and so she had an $800 a month benefit. Now, what Social Security is going to do is they're going to add $200 a month to her benefit to equal that 50% of the spouses. So if you look at that and you say, okay, Ward had a $2,000 benefit, then a spousal benefit for his wife would be $1,000 a month. But if her own benefit was $800, then they're going to add on that $200 to equal the 50%. That's always going to be the case then. It's not going to be taken away from her, but when she becomes full retirement age. But in the case of someone who maybe has a $1,200 a month benefit on their own, then they would never receive that spousal benefit because their own benefit would be larger than that $1,000 spousal benefit. Okay, if you get that. So the other thing is, if she was trying to get her benefit at age 62, it's going to be reduced from whatever it would be at her full retirement age. So don't do that to yourself. Now, number one, in another video, we talk about working while you are receiving Social Security. If you're working while you're receiving Social Security and you're taking a reduced spousal benefit, you're going to get a reduction in your Social Security benefit. So it just becomes, don't do that to yourself. It's not a good situation. So here's the thing that you have to remember. So when you are your full retirement age, and let's say that it's 67, you have the option to choose your own benefit or to file for your spousal benefit. Now, I'm going to show you what that means as far as how to max out what you're trying to get from Social Security. So between the husband and the wife, you have to have one who has filed for their benefits. And also remember, you don't have to file for your benefit at your full retirement age. You can wait until age 70 if you wish to, and you have the income. So let's look at what that means. So let's say that June has an $800 benefit, and with that extra $200 spousal benefit, she's receiving $1,000 a month. But then that amount for her own benefit at age 70 is $1,056. So at age 70, she would switch over from a spousal benefit to her own benefit because it was larger. All right. So that's the thing to remember for this case. Now for divorced spouses, the same thing. And this is really important to remember. You have to be currently unmarried. You have to be at least 62 years old. You have to have been married at least 10 years, and the worker or the ex-spouse needs to be at least 62 years old as well. So here, I'm going to make sure I'm in the next slide. So now I make this whole story up about June and Ward, and the Beeve goes into Kmart and is shoplifting, so it causes a big rift. They get divorced, and she was married to Ward for a long time, so she has a smaller Social Security benefit, so she is able to receive that spousal benefit. Because she's currently unmarried, she goes into the Social Security office with her divorce decree to prove that she's not married anymore. And the man doesn't have to, the spouse, again, remember this is either male or female, the spouse doesn't need to know that this is even going on. Sometimes people don't like that. Now for widows and widowers, if someone unexpectedly dies, then that spouse can switch to the husband that's passed away. If they have a larger benefit, she will be able to switch to that larger benefit. Now, of course, this happens. One of the things that I talk about throughout this series is waiting, because if there is a larger benefit to be had, you want to go for that, because you're going to really appreciate that larger benefit when you're 80 and when you're 90 years old. So just remember that spouse, if you were both taking Social Security, then you could switch to that larger benefit if someone passes away. So, and that's also possible to be able to claim it as early as age 50 up to age 60 if they're disabled. Okay. So the other thing that you need to remember is it's pretty much the same as if a divorcee was in this situation, that they had to have been married at least 10 years, and whether they were still married or divorced at the time of the death, then they may be entitled to a survivor benefit. Okay, so the other thing that's kind of interesting is if June had remarried and Ward had passed away and she remarried someone at age 55, let's say Ward's golfing buddy Ted, when she's age 60, if she goes into Social Security and says, I want to claim spousal benefits on Ward, she can't because she's married to Ted. But something that you need to know is that if you then wanted to claim benefits on an ex-spouse, you could become divorced and then go back into Social Security and receive benefits on that ex-spouse that has passed away. You have to you just have to demonstrate that you are divorced and that you're single in order for that to happen. So remember that widows and widowers who claim for benefits based on their own work credits are going to do that and to maximize this, they can receive benefits from age 60 to 69. And then if their own benefit is larger, they can switch to their own benefit. There's a theme through this whole thing of trying to maximize your Social Security benefit by utilizing these strategies. So that's it for today. And I'd like to wrap this up now. This is Bonnie Bell Anderson with Freedom Financial Coaching.